Hello everyone, and welcome to Google Partners Connect. My name's Scott Christopher, and I'm an Associate Product Marketing Manager here on the Google Partners team. I've introduced this event a couple times, and it's always my favorite event to introduce. And it's for a personal reason. My father started a small business when I was young, and as I grew up, I watched him struggle to find the right customers. And I really wish some of the technologies existed back then, and that he would have had the support of a Google partner to help him really find those customers. We have some great speakers lined up today, but before we jump into that, I want to remind everyone to use the hashtag #PartnersConnect. Share your thoughts, pictures, and success stories. We always love reading them after the event is over. Now, I'm excited to introduce our first speaker. Matt Lawson is the Director of Performance Ads Marketing here at Google. Him and his team have been working for the past year on helping businesses reach the right customers in the moments that matter. He came into the studio last week to record his segment. I've already watched it, and we have some great stuff coming up. Take it away, Matt.
Hi, my name is Matt Lawson, and I'm the Director of Ads Marketing here at Google. I'm excited to talk to you today about two of my favorite subjects, the intersection of mobile and consumer behavior. When we talk about mobile, inevitably this seems like a conversation about technology. But today I want to argue that winning in mobile requires that we shift our thinking from one where we're thinking like technologists to a mindset where we're thinking more like a psychologist or more like an ethnographer. Because in order to win in mobile today, we have to have a deep understanding of how mobile has changed the way we behave as consumers and as people. And to understand this shift, we really have to understand how media has changed in the past few years. If you think back just 10, 15 years ago, we lived in a world of media scarcity. There were a handful of television channels out there, and as a result, marketers could expose people to their message almost at will. We sat and we watched, and on a typical night of primetime television viewing, advertisers could get in front of 70 to 80% of their audience. But today all that's changed. We have hundreds of television channels, billions of YouTube videos, millions of websites, posts, tweets, snaps, and chats. And as a result, we are tuning in more than ever. In the past 3 years alone, media consumption has risen by more than 500%. And as consumers, because we now have more options than ever before, we're in control of our own media choices. If we don't like what it is that we're seeing or engaging with right now, we have the ability to tune you out. And nothing has driven this change more starkly than the advent of mobile. When you think about it, these mobile smartphones in our pockets are changing the way we behave and interact with media today. This stat, the one that shows that we engage with our phones 150 times a day, took me by surprise. Mary Meeker first talked about this, and I thought to myself, wait a second, how could I have time to do anything else during the day if I'm engaging with my phone this much? But then I read another statistic, which shows that the total amount of unlock time that we spend with our phones each day is just over 170 minutes. Think about that. We're reaching for these devices in our pockets constantly. But as we do, we're engaging with them in shorter and shorter moments. So the question we have to ask ourselves as advertisers becomes, what is it that we're doing in these brief moments? And you don't have to look any farther than your own behavior to understand this. Obviously, sometimes you're looking to text a spouse or check an email from a colleague or check in on social to see what your friends are up to. And across all of those moments, because we're not seeking out the advice or help of brands, if a brand tries to interrupt us, we can tune them out with just a swipe. But then there are some moments when we are looking for help making decisions, or help getting things done. Moments when we're trying to learn something, to do something, to go somewhere. And these are the moments as brands that we increasingly have to be ready for. I'm going to show you a brief video that I think captures what we're talking about here.
grinding sound when you turn the key?
At Google, we call these micro moments. Micro moments are your new I want to know, I want to go, I want to do, I want to buy moments. And it's these intent-rich moments when we instinctively reach for our devices that are critical for brands to be there. Because these are the moments when we're looking for help making decisions, when we're open to having our preferences shaped. And the brands that are there in these moments and deliver consistently on our needs are the ones that will win. At Google, we're fascinated with this behavior, as I'm sure you are. It's one that you experience yourself. But we wanted to dig even deeper to find insights that we could use to understand it and help advertisers unpack these moments and address them. And so what we did was we went out and actually found some real people and tried to understand their real needs and real moments through ethnographic research. I want to share a couple of their stories with you now. This is Kathy. Kathy's a 42-year-old school teacher who lives here in the Bay Area of San Francisco. Kathy likes to save a little money by making her coffee at home rather than going to a local barista shop. One day, while she was washing her dishes, Kathy broke her milk frother. Without so much as finishing the dishes, Kathy reached for her phone. She did a search for Bodum milk frother, the brand she had. She found a model similar to hers on Amazon.com, and with just a couple of more clicks, she had replenished her item and checked something off of her to-do list just as it had arrived. I want you to meet Erica. Erica's a 32-year-old professional who lives in the Austin, Texas area. Erica and her husband have been dreaming of getting a bigger home to meet the needs of her growing family. One day, while waiting for a flight home in the Orlando airport, Erica flipped into research mode. She reached for her phone and tried to understand how much house she could afford, ultimately landing on this search for a mortgage calculator. It took her to a site on Bankrate where she found the information she needed, and she was off to her flight with the knowledge that she and her husband could start their journey towards a new house. A few years ago, moments like these would have happened on a laptop or a desktop as opposed to a mobile device. But increasingly, these searches are happening on mobile, and as a result, the way we interact with search and the way we behave has changed. This is data from Google Analytics that we've pulled from millions of websites from advertisers and clients just like yours. I found the insights compelling. In the last year, the share of mobile's total visits to websites has increased by 20%. And yet, in the same time, the amount of time we are spending in each of those visits has decreased by 18%. So we're reaching for our devices more and more, and yet, when we do, we engage in briefer and briefer periods of time. And yet we're getting a lot done in this time. In the same time period, just the last year, mobile conversion rates have risen by 29%. Here's what this tells me. It tells me that we no longer do research with long, dedicated sessions on a laptop or desktop. Instead, we turn to the device nearest to us, and we inform ourselves throughout the day, and as a result, we're able to make decisions faster than ever before. For those of you who work in retail, you know that people are actually visiting stores less than they used to. And yet when people walk into a store, they're more likely to purchase. And when they do, they purchase with a higher average basket size. They do this because they're informed by their mobile devices. And the same thing is happening with desktop visits today. When people visit a website on a desktop or laptop, they're likely to spend less time than they did just a year ago. They're also likely to convert at a higher rate. In many ways, mobile is becoming the footsteps that leads people to your store or to your website. And oftentimes these footsteps can seem small and almost mundane in relation to the bigger picture of what people are trying to accomplish. But in many respects, that's just the point. As brands, as advertisers and marketers, your biggest opportunities are now the smallest moments. We don't need advertisers to try and interrupt us when we're checking up on our friends or just trying to see what others are up to. We need brands that help us to make decisions, help us to get things done in life. And the brands that help us at every step of the journey are the ones that will win our hearts, our minds, and our dollars. But in order to win as marketers, we have to understand something that's crucial, and that is that some moments matter more than others. We have to get deep in understanding consumer needs in the moment and unpack those needs to understand what is people's intent, what is their context, what are they trying to accomplish. And this is where Google can help. As a company, our platforms are built on the concept of delivering on people's intent with immediacy. And with the advent of mobile, we've been able to integrate signals information like context, such as people's time of day, their device, and their location, to offer you clues to help understand what your consumers want and deliver against their needs. Let me give you an example. Let's go back to Kathy for a minute. Kathy broke her milk frother, and she replaced it within minutes. But that's not the whole story. As it turns out, Kathy's husband broke a milk frother just a few months prior. But instead of turning to his mobile phone to replace the milk frother, he went to a local retailer that they both liked. Kathy mistakenly believed that her husband had paid $40 for the milk frother, whereas Amazon was offering it for $24.99. Amazon won this moment because they offered Kathy value and convenience. And the retailer, despite having the same item in stock at a store at the same price, at a place nearby where they could have picked it up the same day, failed to compete. By not paying attention to their customers' intent and context, they missed the opportunity to demonstrate their own convenience and value. And Kathy, having just replenished her milk frother, was happy as a clam. In her moment of need, she was more loyal to her own needs than she was to a brand. Let's go back to Erica for a second. Erica wanted to understand how much house she could afford. But clearly this wasn't an isolated moment. This was one step in a long journey that took weeks and months as Erica investigated home builders, properties, schools, neighborhoods, and financing options. What was interesting about this was when we talked to Erica, she talked about how her home buying process had changed from just a few years prior when she and her husband had last bought a house. She described how they used to sit down around the kitchen table for hours on a Saturday and research options on her laptop. But today, that's not how Erica behaves. Erica uses stolen moments throughout her day, while waiting in line at the grocery store, waiting to pick up her kids at soccer, or waiting for a flight home at the airport in order to inform herself. She uses stolen moments in order to keep her dream of owning a new home alive. And the implications for marketers couldn't be clearer. Being there for Erica requires delivering snackable content tailored to her mobile context so that she can find out the information she needs at every step of the journey. And the marketers that deliver that to her are the ones that will ultimately win her business and win the sale. Moments like these are happening hundreds of times a day. They're happening for millions of people, and that's creating billions of moments for you to win. As marketers, it's your job to connect the dots between all of these disparate moments and the ones that truly matter to you and your business based on the customer's intent and context. But rather than make this academic, let's dive into a few examples of small businesses like yours that are doing this well today. Walnut Creek Dental is an example of a company that's doing a great job in the I need a dentist moments. When we need a dentist, we're not looking to fill out a lead form or make a purchase right now. We're looking for reviews of how good this dentist is and what kind of services they're providing. But Walnut Creek Dental had a great insight into their customers. Because they wanted to acquire younger customers to bring into the practice, they needed to make sure that the content they delivered would be consumable in a format that they wanted to see, which meant they had to have a mobile responsive site. In this case, they wanted to deliver video rather than actual written reviews, which people are less likely to trust. They went out and actually filmed customers, you can see, sitting here in the chair. And the results have been pretty staggering. This small dentistry in Walnut Creek has received 30,000 views of their customer reviews. And in just the past couple of years, they've increased their business by 35%. Shutterfly is an example of a company that's getting the let's get the Christmas cards done moment right. Shutterfly, for those of you who know the company, is a personalization company. So you can personalize everything from scrapbooks to mugs to notes and notepads. And as you can imagine, for a long time, the executives at the company thought maybe mobile isn't right for us. After all, the process of personalization is complex and long. You have to go in and upload a picture of the item that you want to personalize. You got to select the item. You got to add text, and oftentimes doing all of that on a mobile device before you even fill out the credit card form can seem challenging. But working with Google, they were able to find that people actually started their journey on a mobile device before completing it on a desktop or laptop. Using our estimated cross-device conversions metrics, they were able to understand that mobile actually drove 60% more conversions than they previously thought when taking this behavior into account. As a result, they've opted all of their keywords into mobile, and they're seeing dramatically more conversions at a very attractive ROI. And finally, Ehrlich Pest Control is a company that's doing a great job of the this can't be happening moments. Ehrlich is a company that offers pest and rodent control in about 65 offices in the Mid-Atlantic and Southeast. If you've ever had a rodent or a pest problem, you know that this is not something you can wait on. It's something that you have to get done and fixed today. Ehrlich's search campaigns were broadly targeted to the states where they operated. But consumers want to know who their local provider is and how quickly they can get there. So Ehrlich went about the process of actually geo-targeting at a city level and changing their ad copy such that it was specific and relevant to the cities where they had offices. Not only that, they addressed people's concerns for immediacy by adding a click-to-call button in the search results. So people no longer had to click through to the website to reach them. They could just call directly. As a result, calls to their call center are up 250%. So the question becomes, how can you get great results just like these companies? I want to leave you with 3 pieces of advice, 3 things you can do tomorrow to be more successful. Identify your micro moments, deliver on people's needs in the moment, and measure every moment that matters. Let's talk about each of these, and let's start with identifying your moments. If I asked each of you to write down what the key moments are that your customers reach out to you for, I think you could come up with a great list. What I would challenge you to do, however, is to reevaluate that list with a mobile context. How has mobile changed how consumers reached out? How has it changed the questions that they're asking? And if you don't know yourself, try asking your customers while they're standing in a store or talking to one of your call center agents or store reps. This is a place where Google can help. Reach out to your account teams and we can help you understand what types of queries people are using to find you and how that varies based on their mobile context, their location, or their time of day. Delivering on consumer needs in the moment is an even bigger challenge. You've got to ask yourself, do I have the right content? Do I have the right delivery mechanism, whether that's a mobile site or an app? And am I thinking through the UX and UI so that people can get through this experience quickly? The good news here is it's easy to provide a true north for your teams and your agencies to fix these challenges. Once you've identified your moments, try and unpack each one of them. Try and understand people's intent and context and what they're trying to accomplish. And then try and replicate that yourself on your own phone. Try searching for your brand or your products while you're standing in your store or standing in your office or even standing at home. Look at the answers that you're delivering to people and the experience that you deliver once they hit your site. You'll quickly identify some gaps, and by prioritizing those, you're going to be able to deliver on people's needs. And last but not least, you have to measure all the moments that matter. As digital marketers, oftentimes we get caught up in the precision of digital, trying to measure everything down to the last keyword. But with mobile's now a part of the fabric of our everyday lives. And as a result, it's difficult to quantify with a granular level how it's impacting when we convert on a mobile device, across devices, in a store, or even over the phone. As a result, you've got to really pull back the lens and think holistically about how you measure. Try testing larger investments in mobile and seeing how that impacts your top-line metrics like sales, revenues, and profits. Only by trying to understand your digital holistically are you going to be able to take into account all of the different ways that mobile helps people convert. I hope you've liked this talk. If you have and you want to learn more, we've got a website here for you, g.co/micromoments. You can find stories like Erica's and Kathy's here, as well as other stories and research about how people behave with their mobile devices in these micro moments. Not only that, we're going to be pushing out new research that helps you understand step by step the actions you can take to be successful with micro moments. So stay tuned to this URL and to our Partners Connect. Hopefully we'll be back soon with more information for you. Thank you for your time.
Welcome back, everyone. Our next speaker today is Frederick Valles. I've had the opportunity to introduce Fred a couple times at these events, and he's really becoming a staple for Partners Connect. Thank you for being here today with us, Fred.
Thanks for having me, Scott. It's great to be back here. So my name is Frederick Valles. I'm Google's AdWords evangelist, and I really like speaking at events like this because once upon a time, about a decade ago, I was a small business myself, and I had lost my job when the dot-com bubble burst in 2002. And the thing that I decided to do was spend my whole severance check on the most expensive digital camera that I could find. So I was going to become the first digital wedding photographer in the Bay Area. And here I was, I had a great camera, great equipment. I had done weddings for family members before, so I knew what I was doing. But the one thing I didn't have was customers. And lucky for me, in 2002, Google had just come out with a self-service advertising program called AdWords. And I was able to use that to build up my business over that summer. Now, I thought this was so exciting that I could just use online marketing to find new customers just by buying some keywords. And I said, I got to figure out a way to start working at this company, Google. So I was lucky enough to join them. And then for 10 years, I was Google's AdWords evangelist, traveling the world and really telling folks like you how you can put into practice some of the concepts that Matt was talking about. So the agenda that I have for you today is how to grow your business. And there's really three components that I think we should be talking about. First of all, if you want to grow your business, you got to figure out how to make connections to your customers. Where are your customers doing searches, and how do you put yourselves in front of them at the right moment in time? And then, of course, we have to talk about mobile, right? Mobile devices are growing like gangbusters, so we really have to understand how that applies to your business and what it means for your business. And then finally, the whole beauty, I think, of online advertising is that for every single dollar that you spend, you're going to know exactly how much money you get back in return. And so that's about measurability. So we're going to talk about how you can track everything for your business, even if what you care about is a phone call rather than somebody buying something online. Okay, so let's talk about connecting with your customers. Obviously, the main place where you can make connections with your customers is on the Google search results page. Now, Larry Page, the CEO of Google, says that the Google search results page should be like a toothbrush. What does that mean? He actually means that you should use it at least twice a day for maximum effect. So hopefully this page should be very familiar to all of you. But let me point out a few things. So the first thing is the search query up at the top of the page. And when you put in the search query, that generates ads and organic results. Now, the search query, the keyword, that's probably one of the first discussions that you should go into with your Google partner agencies, because you have to put yourselves in the shoes of your users and figure out when they're looking for the products that I sell or the services that I sell, what is it that user types into the search box? Now, there was this insurance company and all the bigwigs got into a room and they had a big meeting and they tried to figure out what are the keywords that we're going to buy. And they came out of that meeting and they said, our keyword is recreational vehicle insurance. Recreational vehicle insurance? What does that mean, right? You, me, all of us, we talk about motorcycle insurance, RV insurance, boat insurance. Recreational vehicle insurance, that's jargon. That's how people at that insurance company talk. So it's really important for you to think about what is it that your customer, your prospective client will put into the search box. And then based on that, you can figure out when you want to advertise and what you would like to show in these ads, because you control the text of these ads as well. Now, you can make these ads more appealing, right? How do you stand out when there's probably many people, many competitors of yours who are advertising on the same keywords? Well, you can use ad extensions, and there's a number of them. So here in this ad, the first one you can see there's a call extension. So this advertiser has put in their phone number, making it really easy for the prospective client to call up if they don't want to click on the ad. There's also a site link extension. This gives the user of Google the opportunity to click on a number of additional links. So you can take them to more specific sections of your site that may better answer exactly what they're looking for. Say that you have a travel agency and you provide flights, cruises, car rentals, and hotels. Well, if somebody does kind of a generic search for a keyword like travel assistance or travel agent, now in addition to showing your homepage, you can actually show the 4 main areas of your site, the 4 main services that you offer, and you can take people a little bit closer to that page that actually answers the question that they had. And the final one that's in this particular example is the location extension. So here, if this business actually wants people to come to their physical location, they can connect that with their physical location, and now that's going to show up in the ad, so the customer can actually get directions to your business and can very easily find it. Now, here's an example, right? So AdWords really allows you to target the right user at the right time, and it's one of my favorite examples of an advertiser putting this into practice. So here's the locksmith. The locksmith figures out that people, when they get locked out of their cars in certain parts of town that are sort of desolate, like right here, there's nothing around, or parts of town that aren't the safest parts of town, when somebody gets locked out, they're going to be in desperate need to get quick help. And so he's targeting specifically to these parts of town where that's the case. He's also bidding more for times a day when it's dark, right? And people feel more of a sense of urgency to get that assistance as quickly as possible. So, and this is a moment of relevance, by the way, right? So this is, when I started working at Google, we talked about moments of relevance. And this is when you, as an advertiser, were able to make that connection with the person when they were in need and when they were typing something into the search box. Now, this particular example here really couldn't have happened a decade ago because people didn't have smartphones, right? If you got stranded in the middle of nowhere and you wanted to find a tow truck, well, you had to hopefully have the number of a tow truck in your phone, or maybe you'd call AAA, but you couldn't pull out your smartphone because it didn't exist. But in this case, now you have these micro moments, right? So something happened, you pull out your phone, you get exactly the answer that you were looking for. And so it's this targetability, this fact that you can bid different amounts at different times a day, the fact that you choose your keywords, the fact that you can put up the ad text that you want, that makes AdWords so powerful. You're never going too broad, you're going exactly after that customer who needs you at that exact moment in time. So as far as standing out, I did mention ad extensions, and I wanted to show you another example of how you really can stand out from your competition. So here you see 3 ads at the top of the page for a query for blank t-shirts. And it's actually not the number 1 ad that's the most prominent. I think the number 2 ad is much more prominent because they've taken advantage of these extensions. And by the way, extensions, they do not cost anything to add. You can add these for free to all of your existing advertising. And then of course, if somebody decides to click on these ads, that's when you pay your cost per click, but it's still the same price as if they had clicked on the headline of the ad. There are 12 different extensions available, and Google has measured that some of these have as high as a 30% lift in click-through rate. And that's pretty huge, right? Because here we're talking about growing your business, finding more customers. Well, this is saying that for the same ads that you might already be running, you can get 30% more people interacting with these ads, coming to your website, calling your business, and potentially becoming a customer. So that's a pretty big lift from a free product that your partner agencies can certainly help you install. Now, even if you don't install all of these extensions, the good news is Google just announced a couple of more automated ones. So about half of these extensions you have to proactively put into your account. The other half, you just have to make sure your data is correctly structured, and then Google will figure out what are the best extensions to show. Right? So you're not putting them in AdWords, but you might still work with your Google partner agency to really make sure that your data on your website, that your places listing, that all of these things are correctly structured, because that's where Google sometimes pulls the information from. Okay, so let's talk about the second place where you might want to be found. This is for a local search. So here the example is a bakery. Notice that in the case of a bakery, there's actually 3 local listings, local organic results that show up right there. Just a few weeks ago, there would have been 7 results on this page, but Google just changed it to 3. So it's much more competitive, and that's really why you have to be working with agencies, with people who really know how to get you into those top 3 positions, because if you're not in the top 3 anymore, it's less and less likely that you're going to be found. So right there you have those local listings, and these are very important, right? There's statistics that show that fully half of all people who do a search for one of these local businesses actually go and visit that location on the same day. Now, that's basically getting listed organically, but if you wanted to promote things that helped you drive more business, more visitors into your store at the time that you needed it, you can use something like AdWords and scripting. Again, the agencies are experts in this, but one of the examples is you can advertise when you need it the most. So say you have an ice cream shop and it's raining that day. You're probably not going to get quite that many people coming into your ice cream shop. But guess what? You have a cappuccino machine. You sell hot chocolates in addition to ice cream. So wouldn't it be nice if the ad text that you were showing for your location automatically changed based on the temperature, based on the weather? Well, you can do that. The agencies can help you do it. So on a nice sunny day, you're going to be showing ads for ice cream. On a cold and rainy day, you're going to be showing ads for hot chocolate, and you're going to make sure that your store, your bakery, your restaurant is always as full as you want it to be. And so these are some of the really cool technologies you can use in online marketing that would have been very difficult to do, obviously, in the more traditional forms of advertising. So the thing you have to do as well is make sure you claim your Google My Business account. This is Google's way to understand that you're the business owner, and for you to provide as much information as you want to Google about your business. So what types of payment do you accept? Where is your exact address? What kind of products do you sell? What kind of services do you provide? You can enhance your listing with all of these details, but the first step is to claim your listing. So it's very easy. You just do a search for your business. There's going to be a link right there that says, are you the business owner? You will click on that. Google will do a verification. They will call the business. You'll have to pick up the phone and put in a little PIN code. And at that point, Google's going to say, okay, you're the business owner, hence you get to control this listing. And then Google's automatically going to make sure that whether somebody's looking on a smartphone, a tablet, or a desktop, they're going to find what they were looking for, which is hopefully your business in those cases. Now, another great way to enhance these business listings is to take advantage of something a little bit newer like Google Business View. This is kind of like Street View, but inside of your business location. And don't worry, Google's not going to take one of these Street View cars and drive it through your store, right? They're going to send a photographer. And basically the hardest part about this is you have to figure out when that photographer is available to come to your store. They're going to take pictures, they're going to do the work and submit them to Google, and now you're going to have Street View inside of your business. And this is cool because if you've spent time and effort and thought on the atmosphere of your restaurant, for example, wouldn't you like to show that off? Wouldn't you like people to be able to come inside and before they make a decision on where they're going to go dine, actually have a sense of what your business looks like on the inside? Now, so this is a great way to enhance the data that Google has. And by the way, Google's a data company, right? So the more data you give to Google, the better of a job they can do to make sure they're showing you at the right time, at the right moment, to the right prospective customer. So this is just one of the many things that you can do to enhance that. Now, I've talked about service businesses a bit, but what if you're selling products? Well, if you sell products, people search for that on Google too, obviously. So here you have an example, and these are AdWords product ads. So these are a little bit newer. Now Google shows images, they show the prices of products. In this case, we're looking at vinyl banners. So this is a product that's oftentimes locally created. So some of you in the audience today may actually do vinyl banners for your customers on a local basis. Well, you can make sure that your vinyl banners show up in these product ads. And this is really important because just over the past year, these ads have been so useful to the consumer that now 1 in 3 clicks for product-related searches for retailers happens on these types of ads as opposed to text ads. So at this point, you certainly want to be running text ads as well as product ads at the same time, but this is a big area of opportunity. And if you're not doing this yet, it's probably time you get on that bandwagon. And it's actually not a bandwagon, that's just the way that consumers want to see their information, right? So make sure you're running these product ads. Now, YouTube, that's the next big opportunity. That's the next part of Google where you might want to be found to make those connections with your customers. YouTube has 6 billion hours of video watched every single month. The barbecue guys, for example, they have a cooking show on YouTube that shows how to use a barbecue to make great meals. They had about 800 views a day, and then they found out that for 2 to 3 cents per additional view, they could go to well above 5,000 views a day for their cooking show. And the beauty with YouTube too is that it's TrueView. TrueView means that you only pay if somebody decides to watch the whole video ad or at least 30 seconds of it. So you've probably done this on YouTube where you see an ad and you skip it. Well, if you skip the ad, the advertiser doesn't pay for that, but you still had the opportunity to do a bit of branding. So like Barbecue Guys was noticing, this is a great opportunity and a lot of people watching that. So definitely get on that. Now, the next one here is participate on social. And whether you like it or not, people are going to be talking about your business on social media. Fully 28% of time spent on the internet in the United States is on social media, right? So people are going to be talking about your business. Now, I know I'm not 100% perfect. None of us are probably perfect, right? So one of the best ways and best methods to engage on social is to respond to reviews and respond to comments that people have about you. So if somebody has a negative review about your restaurant, what would be really awesome is for you to respond and say, well, sorry, we had an off day, and let us try to make it right to you. People will understand. If I see a 5-star review for a business, that actually raises my suspicion level because I know people aren't 100% perfect. I'm much more inclined to go to a business that occasionally has a lower review, but where I also see that the business owner takes the effort or makes the effort to really respond and try to make it right. That shows me that they care about their business and that they're probably going to care about me as a customer as well. So that's one way to participate in social. Now, let's talk about mobile a little bit more. So that one moment with the person stranded in the middle of nowhere, that was one of those moments that could have not been possible as a moment of relevance if it hadn't been for mobile devices. And so what's really driving this is the fact that people have more and more smartphones. Let me bring it back to the toothbrush example for a second. So I've heard this stat. It's a little bit hard to track down, but it says that more people in the world have smartphones than toothbrushes. So this is good news, I suppose, right? Those people who don't brush their teeth, I can actually call them up on the phone. I don't have to talk to them face to face. But that kind of tells you these numbers are really, really big, and that's what's driving these micro moments and these new opportunities. So the other stat we have here is that actually 45% of people would rather give up their vacation than their smartphone. So that really shows you how wedded people are to having that smartphone and that availability to information and that access to the micro moments all the time. So as a result of this consumer shift, you'd also see that now more searches happen on mobile devices than on desktop devices. This is true in 10 countries. The United States is one of these. And this has happened for the first time in 2015, as Google announced. So if you're not thinking about mobile, you're probably going to be missing out on a large opportunity that's only getting bigger and bigger. So you want to probably play in a growing segment, which is mobile, and not just be stuck on desktop, which is relatively flat and in some cases even declining. So the other thing that happens with mobile devices is you may have seen people out and about and now they talk to their phone. So they're no longer typing in little searches or doing it with their thumbs, of course, right? But they're actually talking to their phone. And Google did a piece of research and they saw that 55% of teens and 41% of adults talk to their phone doing voice searches multiple times a day. These are really big numbers, and this is a really big shift in consumer behavior. And the reason I bring it up is that you kind of have to think about if you're doing a search with voice versus typing it in, the keyword may be a little bit different. And the keyword is the first thing we talked about, right? So you have to figure out what are the keywords, what are the queries that people will be doing when they do a voice search, and how do you as an advertiser, as a business, make sure that you're advertising at the moment of relevance when it actually matters to you. So voice search is a big shift in that. Now, if you're mostly interested in getting calls, right, obviously when somebody has a mobile phone, the easiest thing to do is actually call the business as opposed to go and look at the website. If you just want to get those phone calls, there's a call-only ad format available to you. You can turn that on so you don't even have to have a website. Here's a quote from an insurance company, and they basically say that calls convert much better than website clicks. And so there's a different ROI associated with those. And for them to be able to bid differently, bid higher for the call is actually a really good thing because it helps them close more business. They can show up higher on the page of results and they can grow their business through a call-only format. And that's available to all of you today. Now, if you're thinking about how to design a mobile experience, think about mobile first. There's this company PlusNet, they sell broadband connections, And like many of you, they've had a website for a long time already. Now, it turns out that they've put so much information on that website that nowadays it's really hard to find what people are looking for. So they're scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and they're just not finding what they need. Take a mobile-first approach. So try to redesign your website with the most important things first, and think, if I only have the limited screen estate of a mobile phone, what is it I would put on that? And then you take that same experience and you make it available through responsive design on the desktop device. And the results are actually really good in this case and in many cases. So it took people 40% less time to find what they were looking for and had a 1,000% increase in the conversions on mobile devices, and they didn't lose anything on desktop, right? So this works really well. So that's how to think about how to make your business relevant in the mobile age. And then finally, it's really about making sure that if you're going to be investing in online marketing, you actually get a good return from this. You know, many times we talk about online marketing, but in many ways, it's really more like hiring a sales force, right? Because with a sales force, you oftentimes pay them on a commission basis. You pay them when they drive results. It's the same thing with online marketing. You don't have to pay for the stuff that doesn't convert. Now, that does require that you help your agency track conversions. They may have special methodologies to do this. They may require you to use special phone numbers. They may ask you to install a piece of tracking code on your website. It's really important you do this because it gives the agencies, the people managing your ads, the ability to see this keyword, when somebody clicks it, converts really well. So let's spend more money on this. This other keyword, when we spend money, doesn't convert so well. So let's decrease the bids or let's get rid of it altogether. But if you don't give them that level of information through conversion tracking, they can't do this for you. So then stuff doesn't become as profitable as quickly as you might want it to be. Now, if you're looking to track phone calls as opposed to conversions that happen on a website, totally possible. Google has a great solution for this, and they will automatically put a tracking number inside of the ad text, like you can see here. So even if somebody doesn't go to your website but just picks up the phone and calls, you're going to know how many calls happened. Or if the consumer decides to click to the website first, Google can still show that tracking number in there. So you're still going to know whether it came from the ad or the website, how many calls you got, how much money you spent on that, and use that to improve your results. And then finally, obviously, like I said, 50% of people who do a search for a local business actually go to that location. Hopefully they buy something too when they're at that location, right? Well, Google can help you track that. They can estimate offline conversions, and so they will know how many people physically came into the store. They can try to tie into point of sale systems and really get that level of data that enables them to say, okay, this is the return on investment that you drove from online marketing. So that was kind of what you can do to get started in online marketing today. Much of this your agencies have been doing for a long time. They're really experts in this, so highly recommend starting some of these discussions right after this session. And that's all for me, so I'm going to hand it back to Scott.
Thank you very much, Fred. The event's coming to a close, and we want to thank everyone for coming here today. But we did want to issue one final reminder. We've heard from two great speakers, but the real experts are already in the room with you, and that's your Google partners. They work with businesses just like yours every single day to help them find the customers online. So be sure you talk to them, ask them questions about how they can craft a specific plan tailored to your business. I want to thank everyone once again for coming, and I can't wait to see you all online.